Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. You join me on a very warm evening in the UK tonight. We're going to be taking a look at a brand new release from Free League Publishing. Tonight we are venturing back to Middle-earth to take a look at Overhill and Underhill, a brand new starter set for the One Ring role-playing game from Free League Publishing. This is, as I say, a brand new version. We had a previous starter set, and this is an updated version of that. So I'm intrigued to see what the contents is like in this new set. My thanks, of course, to Free League Publishing for providing a copy for the channel to take a look at this evening. As we go through, we might touch upon some elements that will be considered spoilers, certainly if you intend to be a player of the game. So I will throw up the spoiler alert before we go into those areas, because you don't want anything ruined for your gaming experience. But of course, for lore masters, you'll want to sort of stay with us to see what else the game box has to offer. We're looking specifically at the One Ring version of this starter set. There is, of course, a version for players and lore masters who are familiar with the world's most popular role-playing game in its 5e edition. So the Lord of the Rings role-playing game essentially has all of the same content, but with all the rules based around the 5e rule set. So we won't take a look at that tonight, but if you are a player of the Lord of the Rings, then you'll be able to sort of see where the similarities will be. It will only be down to the actual rules and the stat blocks for characters. All right, let's jump to the table and we'll take a look. As always, as I go through, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in on the chat and I will do my best to answer, or we can at least go and take a look in depth. And if you are watching this after the fact, leave a comment on the video and I'll do my best to answer it at a later date. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look at the back. Okay, so what do we have? Not far ahead were dreary hills, rising higher and higher, dark with trees. On some of them were old castles with an evil look, as if they'd been built by wicked people. This new and beginner-friendly starter set for the One Ring tabletop RPG, based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, provides all you need to embark on your journeys in Middle-earth. Immerse yourself in a world set between the time of Bilbo's first adventure and the events of the Lord of the Rings, exploring the Lone-lands of Eriador and taking on the roles of characters whose stories are yet to be told. This box set contains condensed rules for action resolution, combat, councils, and journeys. The complete adventure Overhill and Underhill, bringing the heroes deep into the wild lands of northern Eriador to face a dark threat. A large full-colour map of Eriador with a combat diagram on the back. Beautifully illustrated cardboard stand-up figures for player heroes and adversaries. 5 pre-generated and illustrated player heroes. 2 D12 Feat Dice and 6 D6 Success Dice, all engraved with custom symbols. Alright, so let's jump on in. We've looked at quite a few of the starter sets from Free League. Indeed, you probably could go back and look at one of the original videos we did on the channel where we looked at the first starter set for the One Ring. So we've got a selection of dice, as it said. These are all very nice, with unique engravings. These are our success dice, I think it said. And then we have some D12s with unique symbols on. Got Gandalf's rune. And we have the Eye of Sauron. We might get to use those later on. Let's put them to one side. Some plastic standy figure holders. We'll take a look at those in a bit. Certainly the figures anyway. We have an updated games catalogue. So let's just take a look here. Okay. So we do actually have an advert here for the Alien role-playing game Evolved Edition. This is timely because at the time of this this live stream, Alien Earth has just launched. So everyone's into Alien at the moment. So they are doing a brand new version, aren't they, of Alien? I think that's coming out next year. We got Blade Runner. Here we go. So we can see the two starters. This is handy having this in the box. So we have the One Ring starter set, and then the starter set for the Lord of the Rings 5e. And essentially, it's the same, except as you can see, dice are different. Obviously, the covers are different, but the adventure will be the same. Dragonbane, oh yes, definitely one of my favourite games from Free League. And this is what, when I was taking a look at this, feeling there's a bit of inspiration from Dragonbane has found its way to Middle-earth with the inclusion of these standy figures. So I certainly like that. Coriolis the Great Dark. We took a look at these core rules on the last show. I'm really enjoying reading thoroughly the game book now. Definitely worth checking out. Vaesen. We've taken a look at all of the books for this particular game. Winner of 3 Gold ENnie Awards for Best Monster and Adversary, Best Art and Cover, and Best Art Interior. I like this one. It's very good. And this is one that we've done recently, even though it's one of the older games from Free League, Symbaroum. And I'm hoping to take a look at a few more of the books. But as you can see, there is a whole host of books. So this is a very expansive role-playing game system that you can get into. So much material. Okay. This really is a brand new sort of sales catalogue, because I was aware of Invincible. It's not available yet. So this is one that hopefully we will feature on the channel in due course. We've just recently done Outgunned and Outgunned Adventure. Took a look at those. I particularly like the Adventure because, of course, I am a fan of Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider. You can have all those kind of style of action-adventure where you're trying to find lost treasures. The Electric State, which is based on the art book by, I hope I get the name right, Simon Stallenhag. And the Electric State is kind of same sort of style as, well, Tales from the Loop, which particularly enjoy this one. Twilight 2000, still not taken a look at that. Then, of course, The Walking Dead. There's some very interesting mechanics for zombies. And then another of my favourite games from Free League is Forbidden Lands. I hope that they will revisit this game in the near future. I think it's got a lot to offer. Mutant Year Zero. And they did release a miniature skirmish game. I think it was at the end of last year. And then of course Morkborg, which is fantastic, along with then a variety of games that use the Morkborg rule set. We got Cyborg, Pirateborg, which of course we looked at some supplements recently. Into the Odd? I think it is. Yep. Black Powder and Brimstone and Death in Space. All of these games we've taken a look at on the channel. So actually, it's a good refresher of everything that Free League has to offer, and they do have a lot of great stuff. Definitely worth checking out their online catalogue of games on their website. In the video description there is a link for the One Ring, but of course you can go and take a look at everything else that's available in their shop. So maybe you might find a game that might be of interest. Definitely some winners in there for sure. Alright, so going on in, what do we have? Welcome to the One Ring. If this is your first tabletop role-playing game, congratulations! Role-playing is a unique form of gaming that combines dice rolling with storytelling. This starter set will guide you on your way to creating fantastical stories in Middle-earth with your friends. For advice, tools, and inspiration, please visit our website, which is freeleaguepublishing.com. There you can find character sheets and other assets available for download, as well as a forum dedicated to the One Ring. So, getting started. Adventure awaits. So decide who will be the lore master. So if you've just opened the box and you're reading, first one reading this, it's probably you. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So as Lord Master, you must read the rules and adventure booklets and familiarise yourself with the contents. Let each player pick one of the pre-generated player heroes, and then let the games begin. And then, of course, we do have all of the books. So we have the core rules, which we've taken a look at. We have Ruins of the Lost Realm, Tales from the Lone-lands. These kind of work together. Ruins of the Lost Realm is kind of a settings guide. That's the way I would describe it. And then Tales from the Lone-lands is a variety of sort of scenarios to play within the Lost Realm. So that's how they kind of work hand in hand. The One Ring, Realms of the Free Rings, is very much the sort of Rings of Power book, where it talks more about the elves. It highlights the three main kingdoms of elfdom in Middle-earth. So let's see if I get this right. We've got Lorien, we've got Rivendell, and we've got... oh gosh, it's up near where the Grey Havens are, so it's Lindon. There we go. Oh, see, I'll have some fan of Tolkien's works saying, oh, you got it wrong, but I think I've got that right. So it focuses in on those. It focuses in on being able to play, I think it's an elf high lord as your character. There are a few adventure points that it points out on the map for you to be able to craft little scenarios from. But very much elven focused. I like this book a lot. But I got to admit, Moria, oh my goodness, this is the book. So if you were to get yourself the starter set, go on to get the core rules, because of course you want to learn more. Moria's got to be the book that you get next, and it's absolutely fantastic. There is a video on the channel, so you can go and check it out. But again, if you're going to be a player, you do not want it to be ruined for you. There's so much fantastic stuff in this book, and to experience it as a player, I guess that's the best way, isn't it? But it's it's the ultimate dungeon, isn't it? If we think of all of the dungeons we've explored in all the variety of different games, Moria's got to be the daddy of all dungeons, and this book does an excellent job of conveying its scale, all the hidden areas that the Lord of the Rings doesn't quite touch upon, but the style of it's written, you would have believed that Tolkien had done it himself. So highly recommend the Moria book, and I believe that the recent Ennies Awards, the book picked up several awards, so there you go. Good evening, Roger, how are you? We're just starting to take a look at the One Ring starter set, Over Hill and Under Hill. This is a brand new starter set for the One Ring, so we're back in Middle-earth. We always seem to venture to Middle-earth periodically, don't we, hey? So I'm going to carefully take these out. And we're going to go to the back of the box first, I think. We'll deal with the books last. Let's take a look at what we have here. So one thing that I really enjoy with the One Ring, and it's going to be the same with the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, is this wonderful pencil art that is throughout. And we'll get some examples as we go through the rulebook. But of course, looking through all of the subsequent books, there's just so many great examples. We're going to see a few here. But these are the pre-made character sheets for this particular adventure. So who is this? Oh gosh, you see, here we go. We have names that I can mess up, other than, of course, Elvish names that I seem to get right all the time. Gira, daughter of Gutar. Gutar? Gira. We're going to go with Gira. So she's a barding, stout-hearted, prosperous. The calling is for a captain. Shadow path of the lure of power. The patron is Gilraen, daughter of Dear Hale. Yeah. We've got to stop while we're ahead. But I like this. So we essentially have our character sheet. We'll learn a little bit of how this works out. Granted, of course, in a starter set we have pre-made characters. In the core rules, you get to create your own characters. So this is just a bit of a let's get you into the game and playing. And it's a bit of a tease because once you've played as a character, you kind of want to make your own, don't you? But at least you'll understand how a character works, having already played through the adventure. So she is she from the Lake Town? Yes. There we go. So you were just a baby when Smaug the Terrible fell on Lake Town. Okay. Let's take a look here. This is Regan Stonefist, a dwarf. Again, beautiful artwork. Really like this. So, the dwarves of Durin's folk. What's he carrying? What weapons? A long-hafted axe. That's the thing, see, I always liked dwarves with crossbows for some reason. I think that's a very sort of Games Workshop vision of dwarves, because we never see dwarves with crossbows in Lord of the Rings, do we? Oh my goodness, I'm going to get this wrong. But it's an elf. Fimbrefil? Fimbrefil. Let's go with that. How am I doing, Roger? Do you think I'm getting these right? Fimbrefil of the Havens. An elf of Linden. So I was correct on Linden. That's good. So she is fair and lordly and rhymes of lore. Sounds good to me. Let's go with that. So we've had a human, a dwarf, an elf. We've got to have a hobbit. Menfar Northtooks. Your other relatives blamed your lunacy on Aunt Rosamunda's half-gross birthday. When your not enough distant cousin Paladin II filled your head with stories of dwarf lords, dangerous monsters, and lost relics hidden in the dark corners of the Shire. That's cool. So yeah, Hobbit of Shire, of course you are. Menfar Northtooks. It'd be Tooks, wasn't it? Fool of a Took. And then we have our final. So we've got, yeah. So essentially we've got... Oh, actually, is it a she? I think that's a she, isn't it? Because I can see a long braid of hair. Yeah, so it's Menfar. It's a she. So we've got... And actually, how do you know the difference between the men and women of dwarfen folk? They both have beards. So, who's this? It's got to be a Dunedain. Yes, here we go. Dunahir, Eagle Nose, Ranger of the North. The Kings of Men. Carrying a long sword and a spear. I like how these pre-made sheets do feel as if they have been sort of handwritten, but then the writing's just perfect enough that anybody can read it. If it was my character sheet, you certainly could not read my writing. But this is our Aragorn character stand-in, isn't it? Everybody likes Aragorn. We have a handout, which we're not going to dwell on. And then on the other side, we have a log for our journey, our company. We can create a little bit of a map here, which is nice. I like it that players get involved in drawing out their map with various events that can be tagged. That's cool. That's very cool. But we're not going to dwell on that because we don't want to spoil any of the adventure content. I'm going to go then. This is the big difference, I guess, between what I'm going to call the original starter set and this new version, is these wonderful standee figures. Look at these. These are great. And as we just saw in the catalogue, this is very reminiscent of the standees that are available in Dragonbane. There's a whole host of various creatures and potential player character standees, though I am aware that Free League are doing a Kickstarter for actual miniatures, and I hope I get this correct. I think it's Titanforge. Going back to my miniature days, Titanforge Miniatures, who have wonderfully sculpted the character art. Oh gosh, this is all off memory here. Is it Johann Hegerkratz? I'm getting the name wrong, but I think that's ish right. For somebody who is awful at names. And so we got these beautiful, beautiful and really creative fantasy miniatures. But of course, they say you have the standees in their box set, and now, of course, you could upgrade to actual miniatures and to paint them. Roger, you're asking, are they printed on both sides? Yes, they are. And I just want to see now. Let's just see. So, shield on this side. Is there a shield on the other side? Right, okay. I was wondering if yeah, some standees, standee plus is where on the opposite side you have the opposite side of the character, but this is just duplicated on both sides. That's not bad, but it's very definitely there are other ones where they've really gone to town and made their standees, realistic on either side. But of course, there is. I'm just thinking it's the Middle-earth Lord of the Rings game from Fantasy Flight Games that has actual miniatures. So if you wanted to change all of this to actual physical miniatures, you could do that. Get hold of that board game. I'm sure there's plenty of proxy miniatures out there that could replace these and maybe create your own sort of looking character. But this is great. This is a great addition. So we seem to have quite a few wargs. We've got some orcs, some goblins, and then of course we do have our hero characters. But this is cool. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll skip past that a little bit. But that's really cool. You wondered that as well. Yeah, I think that's the first thing. Whenever we look at standees, it's like, is it printed on the same side, both, the same art on both sides, or is it unique? You get the different perspectives. But it doesn't really matter. It's just a little bit of nitpicking, I guess. Okay, maps. We like maps, don't we? So here we go. This is Eriador, the sort of northwestern realm of Middle-earth. Let's point out various landmarks. Because I guess the map of Middle-earth must be one of the best-known fantasy maps. I guess Westeros sort of comes up quite high now, doesn't it? That's sort of entered into pop culture. But Middle-earth has got to be one that is definitely the daddy of all of these things. So we got Hobbiton right in the middle. We got the Brandywine Bridge. Of course, I always trace the same path. We end up going through the Old Forest. We have the Barrow Downs. We have Bree. When we work our way to Weathertop, we get to the last bridge, to the Trollshaws, and then ultimately to Rivendell with the fords of, is it Bruen? I think I'm right on that. We work our way down the Misty Mountains to the Red Horn Pass. We have the West Gate, the Moria with the East Gate, leading down into Lorien. All the way down to, oh, you can't see it. There we go. We got Isengard and Rohan. Down here we got the Gap of Rohan, haven't we? And then to Gondor. Farbad. Farbad is the city that is the main sort of focus in the Lost Realms book that I mentioned when we looked through the catalogue. Remember that? And in fact, it picks a variety of different locations around here. We got the Grey Havens. These are the Blue Mountains. And we have Mithlond, Forlond, Harlond, which is the Linden area, isn't it? Ah, I see. I think I'm doing quite well here. We got this wonderful little art. It just draws out some of these places. We have Weathertop. Got the Bridge of Farbad. Yeah, we got the Doors of Durin. This is really nicely done. This is a very nice map. Again, it's just to be able to put down on the table, isn't it? And for the players to take a look at and to get a little bit of an idea of the scope of all the land that will be able to be explored. Ultimately, to be able to enjoy all of this, you really do need the core rules to take it beyond what the starter set has to offer. the end of the day, it is just a introduction to the One Ring role-playing game. So on the reverse, oh, I'm going to put this over here. Now, this, I believe, is a way of being able to manage combat encounters. And we have various sort of positions where your characters, in comparison to their adversaries, are going to be. Now, in the original starter set, this was like a little square, and you would have your characters around the different corners. I think at some point during the course, because I know I've seen this before, but I can't quite remember. And I think it must have been on one of the maps from one of the other books. And now, as they've updated this starter set, they've now included it on in. So this is a good addition. But what do we have? We have foes standing back, forward, open, defensive, and rearward. Engaged enemies. And I think this is denoting different kinds of terrain. We've got forest area here. So essentially it's done into quadrants. It's the same structure in each, but what alters is the type of terrain. And so what do we see? We have sort of foresty area here. This is more a plains area. This is light, sort of half rocky area. And this is heavy path building rocky area. That's what I'm sort of taking from this initially. I'm hoping that the rules will explain exactly what we're taking a look at. So we need to remember this as we look through the books. Well, this is going to be very handy, and of course it's going to look great on a table, isn't it? Very dynamic. Again, along with the standees, placing them on here. I think that's going to be a very visual tool. A considerable upgrade over what was available in the original starter set. So I definitely like this. Again, this is what's nice about this new edition is, of course, they've learned what works. And of course, the game has been out for a couple of years now. And that being the case, they've been refining as they've moved along. And this starter set is taking advantage of all those refinements. Just like, as again, we looked at Coriolis the Great Dark last week, this is a refinement. It's a 2.0 version of Coriolis in a new setting, but they've taken advantage of all those rule tweaks and put it together as a brand new offering. So we're getting a little bit of that in this. All right, so rulebook. These are staple-bound books. What do we have? We have some 24 pages in this rulebook, so it's not particularly heavy. We've got a bit of a quick table summary here of the major rules on the back, which for easy reference for the lore master. Let's take a look. So we get a little bit of an introduction, telling us about the game, telling us about the twilight of the Third Age, giving us an example of play, and ultimately defining the player heroes and the lore master and what is expected of each. And of course, as I've mentioned numerous times already, this is an introduction. So the full game, for you to really go beyond what this offers, is within the One Ring core rules. We've got a breakdown of what actually the game session is going to be like. So the session, we have the introduction, we have a variety of scenes, and we have then the end of the session. And then breaking down what actually happens in the scene. The lore master frames the scene, the players react, and then hopefully from those reactions that we're able to resolve the scene, or we continue with player reactions to other events that happen until we hit that resolution. We have a big breakdown now. It takes a few pages here on explaining all about what the player heroes, how the actual mechanics of what you see on the character sheet, actually what it means. And so this is definitely worth, obviously, spending your time reading through this. I am sure that if you get the starter set, do you get the PDF as well? I'm not sure if you do. With most of Free League's products, certainly if you buy it from their web store, you potentially get the PDF as well. And that would be really handy to be able to provide this to your players in advance so that they could read through this. Because having just the one book and expecting everybody to then come up to speed, it's quite a big ask, isn't it? But if you could all read it in advance of your first game, then that would certainly be helpful. But what do we have? 3 main attributes in the game: strength, heart, and wits. And then target numbers. So the 3 attribute ratings are used to determine a player's standard target number, the default difficulty level of all rolls to resolve an action. So each attribute TN is equal to 20 minus its corresponding attribute. The lower the TN is better. So strength is used when resolving attack rolls. Heart is used for making valor rolls to resist fear. And wits is used when making wisdom rolls to resist temptation of treasure. We've got distinctive features and skills. And again, we've got this wonderful pencil art, little examples as we go through. So we get like 4 pages essentially on the hero, going through weapons and gear, valor and wisdom, the patron. So everything that, a little bit of reference to everything that you're going to find on the character sheet. Again, the core rules go into so much more detail. So action resolution. So making rolls. So determining who's going to roll. So here we go. The ability to use depends on the type of rolls. We've got skill rolls, combat rolls, and valor and wisdom. So let's just say, so roll 1 feat die, which is the 12-sided dice, plus a number of success dice equal to the rating of the appropriate ability. If the ability rating is 0, only roll your feat dice. Add up the numerical results on all the dice, comparing the total to the target number associated with the rolled ability. If the roll total is equal to or higher than the target number, the roll is a success. Let's try that out now. Let's see if we can get this done. I have a handy dice tray. Who should we play as, Roger? You were here for the characters, weren't you? Do you want to pick a character? We had the ranger, we had the elf, the dwarf, the hobbit, and the lady, the bard from Lake Town. The ranger, of course we're going to play as the ranger, eh? I didn't even need to ask, did I? So, let's do... It's going to be strength. We're going to do... Well, actually, let's do a skill roll. Because I can do this one. I know what I'm doing. So we need to have our feat dice, which is our D12. Let's just say that our ranger is having to climb up a rope, up a cliff. So the skill we get to use is athletics. We add 2 dice, so 2 skill dice to the roll. And so we are trying to roll. It's equal to or higher than our target number. So we've got to get a roll of 14 or more with these dice. So let's give it a go. And in typical monkey fashion, So I think this will be a case of we are starting to scale the side of this cliff, and for whatever reason, the rope that was tied above just suddenly becomes untied, and we fall back down onto our ass. Yeah, you see, you know my rolling hasn't improved over all these years. Yeah. But there you go. I mean, that's essentially one of the rolls. Combat rolls, I think, are going to have slightly more to them. Let's just see. That's easy enough, really, isn't it? We do have, of course, the Gandalf rune and the Eye of Sauron. So the Gandalf rune is the greatest result you can get on a feat die. When the die comes up showing the rune, the action succeeds regardless of the total result. Whereas if we get the Eye of Sauron, it's the worst result possible. And the feat die result counts as 0 no matter what. Bonus success dice. When a player hero attempts something under favourable circumstances, they may be granted a number of additional success dice. So if useful item, if the player hero is making a roll outside of combat using a skill associated with useful... so we see if we had some rope, that might have... Which I think we said we had, but, well, actually, if that was the roll for scaling the cliff on its own, let's find out. Does rope give us an additional... I feel like I want to find out now. Is there a section... Oh, hang on. Do we have... See, now, it doesn't say that we have any rope. Let's imagine that it gives us 1 dice. Let's just cheat a little bit. So again, over 14, now with the aid of rope. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's the kind of rolls we should be doing. But even better, we got the Gandalf symbol, which means we achieved our success with bonus. So we scurry up the cliff double time. Maybe we found some eggs on the way up so we can make a nice breakfast for ourselves. Something like that. I don't know. Actually, degrees of success. Yeah, success regardless of the TN. So yeah, we would have done alright on that. That's good. What else do we have? Ooh, conditions of being miserable and weary and wounded. Some rules on endurance and hope. But as you can see, it's dealing with everything literally just on 1 page. There is much more depth to go into in the core rules, but this is giving you the players and also the lore master just the introduction to it, just enough for them to be able to get a grasp of, okay, this is an element in the game, and once you've got that down, you can then explore more in the core rules. Shadow. So challenging an almost all-powerful enemy and facing its terrible minions is bound to instill a sense of fear and doubt in the player heroes. How many shadow points a particular event potentially inflicts is indicated in the Overhill and Underhill adventure, and is explained in detail in the full One Ring core rules. So shadow points are tracked on your character sheet. So, yes, I think as we go through, potentially we have to do tests against the shadow, and this is going to cause dread, greed, sorcery, misdeeds. This was something that I found interesting. Misdeeds, committing despicable actions. You get a number of points depending on what kind of actions you do. So if you violent threats and malicious lies or heedless cruelty, you get 1 point. Because there's no actual roll against your valor or wisdom. for these. For dread, greed, and sorcery, you have to roll, but misdeeds, there is none. It's just depending on what you do, will allocate you a certain number of points. So manipulating others, abusing authority, deliberate cruelty will get you 2 points. Theft or plunder, oath-breaking or cowardice, and treachery will get you 3. And then for 4 points, if you were to torment or torture, killing or crippling a surrendered foe or harmless folk. Because, of course, at the end of the day, you are meant to be a hero. So that's a really good element. I like that. It keeps your players pure. And for some, I think that might be a little bit of a challenge, especially if you are coming from a game system where, you know, it's all about the treasure and the greed of the treasure, and we're just going to explore this dungeon to go and get these riches, and we're going to kill every single person who stands in our way. It's nice that characters in Middle-earth, certainly the player heroes, are held to a higher level, and your games master can definitely sort of, you know, reprimand you with these shadow points if you play out of character on it, which is really good. We got our combat rules, and it goes into actually quite a lot of detail on this. Combat sequence, opening volleys, choosing stances, which we saw as part of the that large sort of battle mat. Engagement, player hero actions, adversary actions, and then we start a new round. Rearward stance, defensive, open stance, forward stance. There are benefits depending on which stance you take, but there are also negatives as well to consider. Special damage, piercing blows. And then details on the adversaries. And then we have this combat example, which goes through everything, so you can see where you'll be laying down your standees. This is quite useful. And then, so we've gone through, this is a couple of pages worth, as you can see, for the combat. But then we go to councils. The player heroes meet many travellers and wanderers along the road. When the company meets one or more lore master characters to discuss or negotiate something of importance, a council occurs. So this is the rules for the role-playing sort of discussion, negotiation side of the game. Note that these rules do not need to be used for every verbal exchange. However, everyday circumstances are better represented using a simple skill roll. So this is interesting. So a council is set up and resolved applying the following steps. Set resistance. Before the council begins, the players should all agree on what the company hopes to achieve from the meeting. So, introduction. At the beginning of a council, the company must present themselves. To do so, the company elects a spokesperson. The player hero then makes a skill roll for or, courtesy, or riddle. The choice is theirs and depends on how they present themselves. So the roll determines the total number of attempts that the player heroes are granted as a group to present their case before they are dismissed. This is cool. And then interaction. But it did say here, if a speech delivered during a council touches topics that are relevant to the company's goal and are deemed important by the audience, then the lore master can allow the player heroes to gain 1d or even 2d on their skill rolls. Oh, okay. And then we end our council. The company reaches a number of successful rolls required by the council's resistance. The player heroes achieve what was chosen as their objective at the start. The company scores a number of successful rolls but fails to match or beat the resistance rating. The player heroes now choose to simply fail and be refused for what they asked for, or with the approval of the lore master they can opt to achieve their stated goal but at a price. Or the player heroes fail all their available rolls. The company is now seen as a threat by the folk encountered. Oh, that's probably what's going to happen to me. Okay, so that's interesting, but journeying. So the company will often end up travelling across long leagues of inhospitable and unfamiliar areas in the course of their errands and quests. Journey requires the following tools. Player map of the traversed area, such as a large Eriador map, yep. Loremaster map with 20 miles of hexagons, which is included in the Overhill Underhill adventure, and a journey log, which I think we saw as the back page, didn't we? So, journey sequence. Set journey path using the player map. The company shows the Loremaster the route they intend to follow to their destination. Okay. We get an example. So we make marching tests. So as soon as the company leaves, the guide makes the first marching test that counts the number of hexes along the journey path. If the travel was, and the outcome of a travel roll. If the travel roll was a failure, the event occurs 2 hexes away from the journey path. If the travel roll was a success, the event takes place at a distance of 3 hexes, plus 1 for each little notations rolled. The Loremaster finds a precise spot by counting the appropriate number of hexes, starting from the current position of the company and proceeding towards its destination. And so, event resolutions. What events do we have? Terrible misfortune, ill choices, mishaps. So journey events should be played out as a short scenes describing what's happening to the company based on the information that the event resolution system has provided. The full One Ring core rules expand on this, and the adventure Overhill and Underhill in the starter set suggests specific scenes to use. So that seems like a good point to go to, because I guess this is just giving us the rule structure, but the actual content is in the adventure itself. So again, we've blasted through essentially what is all of the rules for the One Ring in just 24 pages. And I've gone through it incredibly quickly. So let's put that just there. I am going to throw up the spoiler sign. So for people who do intend to want to play the brand new starter set of Overhill and Underhill, this is probably the point where you want to tap out and not to watch any further. You have been warned, but if you are a Loremaster and you do want to carry on, then, well, please do. So, here we go. And even for the Loremasters, I'm going to do this relatively quickly. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I want to see some of the little points that we raised in the rules there. So what do we have? Overhill and Underhill is divided into 3 parts, followed by an epilogue. Each part is expected to take about 1 hour of gameplay, with the final part taking twice as long. So completing the entire story in 1 day would require a serious time commitment. Therefore, we recommend planning 1 session for each part. When we break it down, we have a fateful meeting, the Crowned Hill, and Iron Jaws. And what do we have? We've got an introduction here. Gives us some prompts. In fact, actually, well, there you go. For this first part, literally, it's 3 pages. But here we go, we can see if we're starting off at Bree and we're travelling up the road, we can see how the hex map works. So is there at the back of this a hex map for us to be able to, or do we download it? And I think maybe we download it. Or is it basically just this? Because, I want to have a quick scan. Where was it? I think this, you can only just see, we can see the hexes on this journey path. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10. And is that the same along the top here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, effectively. So this is essentially the same, isn't it? This is where you would draw on in your journey. Okay, so that makes sense. But basically, what do we got here? So we're going to be starting off at the Prancing Pony, of course we are. We got a little bit of text to read out. We can ask some questions from the person who's going to sort of set our quest for us. We got a handout, which we saw briefly. Going into the North Downs. And so ultimately, this first stage is basically getting our quest and travelling. We then get to this location, the Crowned Hill. So this is where we're going to have our first major encounter. There's an attack of goblins. And then we are going to... We're going to the ruins of Cran. Don't want to go into too much here, but we got some hill folk to meet. And it seems that we might have to do a council here. So again, this adventure is essentially going to get our players and our lore masters to basically just try out all the different kinds of rules that we've been introduced to. So you've got a bit of a flavour of how things all work. So we've had a little bit of journeying, we've had some combat, we've had a council. And then this final part, of course, we meet up against the big bad. And there's quite a bit to this one. So these first two parts are actually relatively short, 3 pages or so. This is, well, you got 2, you got 4, you got 6, like 8 pages to this large part for this final sort of chapter. And then we have, as it said, an epilogue. And we have our sort of stats for the major adversaries, which of course are represented by the standees that we took a look at earlier. So, I say I'm not going into too much detail on this because I don't want to ruin it. But as far as introducing, as I say, the player and the lore master to the rules, this seems like a good way to do it. Just a little adventure, isn't it, really? Just, again, to ease you on in and introduce the system to you. So there we go. That is the One Ring starter set, over hill and under hill. I am a big fan of the One Ring, mainly because I'm a big fan of Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Ring. So for me, this is kind of a no-brainer. But coupled with the fact, and I'm going to give you the UK price, this is just over £23. So this is really, really affordable as far as having a go at a system that you might not have previously played. £23. I mean, gosh, what's that? It's a couple of tickets to the cinema, which is maybe 2.5 hours of entertainment at best. This is proposing at least a day's worth, isn't it, of continuous play if you were to do that. So, value for money. This is very, very affordable and a great offering. So I think that's the, and I think I might be right in saying that this is cheaper than the original starter set. So they've brought the price down to, of course, encourage more people to come and experience the One Ring. Roger saying that's not a bad price. Yeah, I think that's possibly... It's very cheap for a starter set, which is really, really good. So, as I say, it is available on Free League's website right now. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, then absolutely you should most definitely check it out. Again, if you do play 5e, then you could get that version of the starter set at exactly the same price. And you'll probably find that the rules themselves, you already know most of them, because if you're an existing player. So it's just a case of then getting your mind around the different setting more than anything else. So it could be an even easier way to experience Middle-earth. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that relatively swift look at the One Ring starter set. Again, my thanks to Free League Publishing for providing a copy for us to take a look at. We'll be taking a look at some other games from Free League in due course. And of course, we looked at the catalogue earlier. There's quite a few new releases on their way. So I'm looking forward to seeing those. Keep an eye on the channel's social media to stay up to date as far as new live shows and videos. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I look forward to seeing you all on another show in the future. But until then, bye for now.